Hi and welcome to Great Getaways. I'm sitting right now at the Eagle Nest overlook along the Asable River near Ascota. A great place to begin our spring adventure into the outdoors. What a beautiful trip this is going to be, especially if you've got cabin fever. We're going to be looking at some of the birding opportunities that go on here. We're also going to travel into the woods to look at the beautiful wildflowers that are coming out at this time of the year. We've got a great show coming up, so stay with us. The Ascota area is known for many outdoor activities in the summer, fall, and winter, and the spring is no exception. As a matter of fact, spring may have more nature and wildlife opportunities than any other time of the year. The flowers and plants come alive, animals are coming out of their long winter exodus, and we're looking to leave that lengthy winter hibernation. So let's start with some world-class birding. This area is not only a flyway for the returning birds of every kind, but is one of only 3 places in the world where you'll find the Kirtland's warbler. We will meet with wildlife biologist Paul Thompson.
The Kirtland warbler is a federally endangered species. It's one of the rarest warblers in the world, and we're lucky that they nest right here in this portion of Michigan. And they're a species that is adapted with the jack pine ecosystem. Of course, historically this area used to burn, and the wildfires that came through would create the habitat naturally. The jack pine is adapted with fire, and the jack pine would regenerate after wildfire came through and burned up the area on the ground, would create a site for the seeds to germinate in and grow in, and then would create the dense habitat that Kirtland warbler need. And so today we manage for the Kirtland warbler through timber harvesting and then reforestation with planting equipment and planting the seedlings for jack pine. Kirtland warbler, as you can see, this habitat is perfect for them. They need younger aged jack pine, 5 to 10 or 15 years old. When we create this habitat, when we're planting it, we're planting about 1,400 trees per acre, and we're leaving about a 1/4 acre open so that they have the grasses and the blueberry and things like that that they need.
Because of its restricted home range and unique habitat requirements, it probably has always been a rare bird. Scientists did not describe the species until 1851 when a male was collected on the outskirts of Cleveland, Ohio. The first species was sent to the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. The species eventually was named in honor of Dr. Jared P. Kirtland, a physician, teacher, horticulturist, and naturalist. You're talking about these as being younger trees, but they're actually, what'd you say, 5 to 10 years old? And yet they're so small. I didn't realize that jack pine evidently doesn't grow very tall then.
Right. These soils are called calcascus soils, and they're extremely infertile. And so jack pine is about the only tree that can grow well on them, such as it is. And so these jack pine trees are about 6 to 7 years behind us, and jack pine is adapted to grow in these extremely nutrient poor habitat. So you can see there's also some pin oak that can grow in here as well, but primarily jack pine is the species that's best adapted for this area.
It was not until 1903 that Normand A. Wood discovered the first nest in Ascota County in northern Lower Michigan. Until 1996, all nests were found within 60 miles of this site. Since then, a small number of nests have been found each year in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Nesting also occurs in Wisconsin and the province of Ontario.
Between the management that the DNR is doing, creating habitat here in combination with the Forest Service, the bird is doing quite well right now. Still federally endangered, but it's doing very well.
Yeah, there goes another. It might be the same one that was there.
Yep, it's probably the same one.
The Ascota area must be Mother Nature's favorite place because no matter where you go, she displays her beauty and glory for all to see. Our next stop was literally just outside of town. It is called Clark's Marsh and is a collection of still woodland ponds and old-growth forest. Its flat, grassy trails make it the perfect place for visitors to view rare native wildflowers and many species of wild birds. On our way back to the marsh, we spotted a queen snake on the trail. This is a very rare snake and is found in or near shallow streams, canals, or ponds, and often bask in shrubs hanging over the water. They feed mostly on crayfish. What a great way to start our adventure. To show us what to look for, we have the help of the president of the local Audubon Society, Corey Gildersleeve.
This is Clark's Marsh. Clark's Marsh has been an area cut off from civilians for about 40 years.
Oh, and why is that then?
I believe it goes back to World War II. There was a suspicious fire. They thought some Germans had set to burn the base down, and they put fences up and took a large area and made it almost impossible to get into. So this is like new territory for most people. There's road and parking, nice trails, and a series of ponds. The ponds are like this. This is a 28-acre pond that used to be an oxbow of the Au Sable River. We're close to the Au Sable River, between the Au Sable River and the former Wurtsmith Air Force Base in Oscoda. This pond was raised about 5 feet by beaver, and the beaver who did that are now gone. They've eaten all the kind of trees that beaver live on, and it was about to crumble and drain and turn this into a big meadow. The U.S. Forest Service decided that they could do better than that and intervened and built earthen berms, and that preserved the level of the water and the wetlands.
Wetlands vary widely because of local differences in soil, topography, climate, hydrology, water chemistry, vegetation, and other factors, including human disturbance.
There are 3 major ponds, and there's also a climax hardwood forest that is just beautiful. It's stately, huge trees, clear undergrowth, as silent as you can find.
And just as we've stood here, you've stopped and pointed out several different types of birds that were here. How many different types are actually going to be in an area like this?
This was inventoried for the Michigan Breeding Bird Atlas as having 78 species of birds living here. During the birding festival, which was held here recently, 2 field trips were taken here, and just in the course of about 2.5 hours for each field trip, we had about 70 species.
All wetlands provide food, water, shelter, and living space to many kinds of wildlife.
Well, this is the actual berm that holds back the water.
Okay.
There's about a 5-foot drop from this side to this side. It's beaver proof. The box has a tube that runs out about 30 feet to an opening, and the beaver can't figure out that the water's going out of the pond out there. So even though there's a sound of water moving, they'll put sticks there, but they don't bother that.
Affect it though then.
Yeah, so this is going to be maintained by the rangers. And when they reflooded this, after putting all of this stuff in, there were some clumps of earth and weeds and roots that floated up and started to move. And we've got an island here that wasn't here yesterday. And
Well,
it
I thought it looked like it was moving a minute ago. So that's floating around out there then?
Yes, yeah, mobile home, I guess you'd say, for the ducks.
And coming out here and I look around and I see birds flying through the air. But if you stop for a minute, let them land, get your binoculars out and take a look, you really find out the differences in these. You find out variety of types of birds, the different colorations of the birds, and where they're nesting, and just the different things that they do.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Take your time. There's at least a mile of good, flat, firm trails here now, and anybody who can walk. It's not, open for wheelchair use, but if you can walk, you can cover the ground and see some beautiful territory.
Mm-hmm. Great birding area, great wildlife area to come into. So come on out, take a look at it, just enjoy yourself out here. Remember, take only pictures and leave only footprints, because you want to keep these areas up and keep them nice for everyone. Corey wasn't done with his surprises. He took us to see an eagle's nest, complete with eagle chicks, and a surprise I will never forget. Well, Corey, you drug me back here in the middle of nowhere, and you got me walking through the woods, and I haven't seen any birds yet. What have you got here that's so interesting?
Well, if you'll pick up your binoculars and take a look between these balsam, you'll see a big nest. Those are bald eagles.
Oh, they're on the nest. There's some out there.
That's right. There are 3 of them, 3 young eaglets on the nest, and the adults are gathering food.
Oh, so the adults are not even there. There's three of the babies are in there then?
That's right.
Wow.
And those are big birds.
They sure are. I thought they were adults. They look so big out there.
They're almost as big as adults. You can imagine 5 birds that size in one nest.
It must be a pretty good sized nest out there then, too.
I'll bet they think it's crowded.
Now, up here along the Asabo, there are quite a few of the nesting eagles.
Yes, there are 19 producing bald eagles nests on the Asabo. And last year that resulted in the net gain of 19 eagles. They live for 25 years or so.
Hey, the adult she's playing in it right now. She's in there feeding them.
But it is something that you can come up here and you can see. And I know a lot of times we've been down along the river and had them fly at us. We've seen nests, and this is just one of them that's up here, and there are many. You have to kind of come up here and start looking around. You will find them more than likely. And as you can see shots just like we're looking at right now. If you come here at the right time and you find the right nest, you're going to find these young out here, and you might get lucky enough to see the adults come in and feed them. So it's pretty spectacular.
That is spectacular, to catch 4 of them now on the nest like that.
Wasn't that incredible? How often do you ever get to see a sight like that? A mother eagle feeding her young of fresh-caught fish. Wow! Well, I guess it happens in Oscoda quite often. A successful effort to reestablish native trumpeter swan populations has resulted in excellent opportunities to view these majestic birds on the hydro reservoirs. We're here at the foot impoundment along the Asabo River. I'm with Peg Ridgway right now, who is a local birder from the Audubon Society. And Peg, we've got these beautiful birds out here. Now, we talked a little bit earlier, and we mentioned how the trumpeter swan was originally native to the area.
It was a native, and then in the late 1800s, it was extirpated from much of the United States.
And why was that?
Because of the feathers. There was a trade exchange. The feathers, the skins were used for ladies' powder puffs, and the feathers were used for quills.
Okay, so now they have been reintroduced. Now, how long ago were they reintroduced to the area?
About in the mid-1990s. They were reintroduced along the Asabo River with the cooperation of Consumers Energy, U.S. Forest Service, and the Department of Natural Resources.
And how have they done
And
since
they
they
have
were
done magnificently well.
Oh, good.
There are about, the sustainable population now was reached in 2000. So what we're seeing here is a pair of swans that have been nesting in this particular area for the last 4 years.
Now, how big do they get? They look like they're pretty good size.
They're pretty good size. They have a wingspan of about 7 to 8 feet.
Wow.
And they also weigh between 25 and 35 pounds.
Now, they do fly, I take it, though, even at weighing that much.
And they actually walk on water, because what happens is because they are such a heavy bird, they have to have a huge wingspan, and then they have to run along the water to gain momentum before they're airborne.
Okay, okay.
So they need a large area to take off in.
Now, the ones we're looking at here, they are nesting birds.
They are nesting birds.
Now, being called the trumpeter swan, I assume they must trumpet then?
Yes, they have. That's their native sound is a trumpet. They have their esophagus is. They have a trachea that goes right down into their sternum, and it winds around in that sternum, and that's when they trumpet, that's what gives that magnificent sound.
Okay, and the ones we're looking at out here right now, the female, as you can see, is sitting on the nest itself, and then the male is what, patrolling basically to keep other things away?
Yep. Keeping particularly geese and other unwanted waterfowl away from the area. When the young are born, he will become even more protective, and they will keep those young cygnets right between the 2 adults.
Okay.
For protection.
How many eggs will they actually lay then?
Well, they'll lay between 3 and 8 eggs. This pair out here has laid 8 eggs for the last 3 years, and they end up successfully raising about 3 because they have natural predators such as eagles that are along the river. They'll snatch up the cygnets, and snapping turtles and pike.
Okay.
Big predators on these. The pike will come right up underneath and grab their little legs and pull them down.
As far as people coming up here, they want to see these. We happen to be in actually a pretty good area right here. Why don't you explain where we're at and how people can go about sighting these birds?
At Footsite Park, where the riverboat queen is, and at the opposite end of the park, where the riverboat queen is, you can look out, and the swans will be right there. When the young hatch, they will keep them right up in here. They're pretty accustomed to humans, but they've nested it and will keep the young in an place out there where the stumps are, so boats and water skis and that type of thing can't even come near there. And so trumpeters have all black bill, comes right back to the eye, and then they have black feet. Where the mute swan, which is a non-native species and very aggressive towards trumpeters, has orange on the bill.
Okay.
And so those are the two most common.
Okay.
But the mutes are beautiful, but they tend to take over territories that the native trumpeters had.
Okay. So a good opportunity to come out here and see the Trumpeter Swan. You can come here to the this little picnic area, and boat launch is here, and you can come bring the family, have a picnic lunch, and check out these swans. Be sure you bring your binoculars along with you, though, because they are a little bit of distance over there. Spring is so filled with beauty that we just had to spend some time learning about the wildflowers that are found in this area. We are very fortunate to have been introduced to many experts in our journeys, and that was also true here as we met with wildflower expert and high school biology teacher George Falkenhagen.
Right at the base of the cedar you can see there's a whole group of trillium. Trillium have these, have 3 leaves and 3 petals to the flower, which makes them what they call a monocot or monocotyledon, 2 different types. And they're growing around here in this kind of moist soil. They're all scattered through this area here, all these trillium.
Now this is a protected plant, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
So it is a little more rare, and remember that when you come out here and you see something like this, don't just assume you can go along and pick them. You can't do that because
Right.
they are protected.
Right, and they bloom in the spring, and the springtime of the year is where the moisture in the ground is really a great time to see these wildflowers. There's a real early spring flowers that bloom, and kind of a middle spring and a later spring, and then we move over into the summer flowers. But this is really the key time, really a very good time to come up and take a walk and see them.
Yellow ones.
The yellow one, yes, that's called Marsh marigold, and they like to grow and get their feet wet, the roots in the water. A very pretty flower, comes out and stays out quite a while actually. They've been out now for I bet you 2 weeks or so. This to me would be a pretty spot to have a little picnic lunch, look at a bend in the Asable. This is a nice spot. People come in here and they fish. They've got stairs going down to the bank, but kind of keep people off the bank to keep the bank stable. And it's a great place. I mean, now Shumach produces those red berries. So later on in the summer, when it's done blooming and the red berries come out, if there hasn't been a hard rain, they have little teeny hairs on the berries that if you put them in a bucket of cold water and slosh them around a little while and strain it through something like cheesecloth and add sugar, it tastes just like lemonade.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep, it's Shumach lemonade.
Our trip would take us to Tuttle Marsh. As our day of birding was slowly coming to a close, we would finish in the most unusual manner. Kayaks would be our source of viewing and listening to Mother Nature's soothing music, her beautiful birds. Our guide would be Sue Malski, a local birder and researcher. We would also be accompanied by Adam Hume. Adam owns Oscoda Canoe Rentals and represents Au Sable River Kayaks, who supplied our kayaks. Tuttle Marsh is a 5,000-acre wetland project located in the Huron-Manistee National Forest on Old US 23 and Tuttle Marsh Road. The site includes a 380-acre impoundment area, open water, marsh, and wildlife viewing areas. Deer, fox, coyote, muskrat, beaver, otter, weasel, and a large variety of bird species are located here.
Tuttle Marsh is made up of 5,600 acres, and 400 acres of it is pretty much wetlands.
Okay.
There's a spillway about halfway through down here that holds the water. The bad thing is we've had some dry summers, and by fall there's very little water left here.
Really?
Yeah, very little water left by fall. But you know, it offers other opportunities. You get shorebirds that love the mud flats.
Okay.
So
the waders?
Yep, the waders that love the frogs. So it just brings in a different habit, a different group of birds for the fall season.
Now, you showed me a paper when we came in that listed all the bird types that are found here, and that was an extensive list.
Yes, that was
Do you know
taken.
how long it is?
No, I don't know the exact number on there, but that was done by 2 friends of mine, Jim and Carolyn Stevens, and myself. And we did that probably over a 10-year period, and we still do it. We mark down every bird that we see in the marsh anytime that we're out here. So it gives the Forest Service an opportunity to know what species are using this wetland area.
Tell them what you're finding.
Yes, they were the ones that actually did that brochure with our information.
Okay.
In spots, it does get very weedy. There used to be nice-sized pike in here, but with the last couple years it drying up, there's a lot of bullheads. I've noticed a lot of the ospreys have pulled out bullheads and things like that for it's good food for them. Yep. We have some song sparrows calling over here.
Now tell me, how long does it take you to be able to look out and see these birds flying across and know exactly what they are?
Well, I'm a duck hunter, so I learned a long time ago that I have to ID my birds before I can shoot them, and that was probably my best education.
Oh, very good.
And I've taken up birding now. I haven't duck hunted in a couple years, but I have to credit my hunting. We have a lot of swallows right now, tree swallows and barn swallows that are feeding on the insects.
Okay, something like this flew by here?
Yep, and we've heard some red-winged blackbirds calling, and birding by ear makes birding a lot more challenging and fun, because so many times you don't see the bird, but if you know its call or its sound mnemonics, you know what you're looking for.
Okay.
So that does help. Holds a lot of the tag alder, a lot of, you can find sandhill cranes up in that area. A lot of the wading birds end up in there, American bitterns, least bitterns. I hope we hear some tonight, would be great. I don't believe in a lot of this new technology because I hate to pull birds off of their nest at this time of year and use those sound devices. Spring is my favorite time of the year, I think.
This is an excellent time to be up here. And it's good for a lot of reasons too, I suppose, because it is the time that the birds are nesting, and we are getting the birds that stay here year-round, or at least during the summer, but we're also getting the migratory birds that are moving through.
That's right. And I guess spring I look at as everything's coming to life, They've survived the winter and they're happy and they're doing their calls and mating calls and
usually there's not many people.
No.
So
that's what's
time
nice.
For that too.
That's right. I can hear a yellow warbler. Sweet, 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 I'm so sweet. Yep, this is the new osprey nest actually. And what's really nice about this is it built it on its own. It's a natural nest that something could have got into it one night, going after their eggs for food. It's early enough, they'll probably be able to lay some more eggs. Whether they're going to lay them in this nest or not, I don't know. With already having a predator get into them, they may move and build another nest. The Sora rail, the bittern, the pied-billed grebes. We've seen, the green-winged teal was really nice to see here. We know the female is sitting on a nest, so that's good.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our show of springtime birding in the Ascota area. It's a great place to come up to. If you live in southern Michigan, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to get up here. As you can see, it's a lot of fun. It's a great time to be up here, the springtime, when it's not crowded yet. Most people don't even think about coming out at this time, but it's a beautiful time to be up here. It's a great time to come up and do this type of action where we're out here doing this birding. It's phenomenal, the different things that you see. We've seen osprey, we've seen eagle, and we've seen a variety of other birds and a variety of other wildlife that's up here. And it's just magnificent. It's quiet. Everything is coming to life at this time of the year, and it's a great time to be here. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time on Great Getaways.